Farmers are a sturdy, hard-working bunch, but as 2019 turned into a particularly tough year for many Northern Ontario farmers, it highlighted a gap in the kind of support they need. John Thompson covers the northwestern part of this province for Ontario Hubs, and he joins us now from Confederation College in Thunder Bay to explain. Welcome to the show.
It's great to be back, Jan.
Now, for an article that you have on tvo.org, it looks at kind of the consequences of a particularly dismal year for crops in northwestern Ontario. Can you break down some of those bad weather events for us?
Particularly, we're talking about the Rainy River area. That would be the south end of Lake of the Woods and just north of Minnesota. What we experienced out there was over 400 millimeters of rain from about mid-August into the end of October. There were only about 3 days that farmers were able to work hard over the course of that time. So on top of that, farmers were, like, entire crops were left in the field, machines were sent out and got stuck in the mud. On top of that, there were implications for propane shortages from the rail strike that was happening in November. And so it was just one thing after another for the farmers of Rainy River. They had a very, very difficult year.
And it seems like those events helped lead a grassroots request for mental health support. Tell me about that.
It's not extremely uncommon for districts of the Ontario Federation of Agriculture to request assistance from the parent body when there are times of crisis. But this is the first time in the history of that organization that a district has asked for help with mental health specifically. And this taps into a trend that is happening, particularly in the West, that is starting to reach Ontario to destigmatize mental illness in the agricultural sector, as that is unique from the way that we think about mental illness and health in other workplaces.
Now, when you talk about mental health support, what does that exactly mean? I understand there's some first aid training, or some mental health training rather, as well, that may be happening later this year.
What we're experiencing is increasing instability and poor predictability of climate due to climate change. There are issues of family and community. You live at work when you're a farmer. And all of those things kind of add up to a very different kind of approach that needs to be taken with people. So there are a couple different organizations that have started doing this in the last couple of years, largely grassroots and largely in response to the suicide of farmers. We know that in the United States, agriculture is a major suicide occupation. In Canada, the numbers aren't very clear. The reason for that is because we don't have the same kinds of health and workplace safety regulations and registrations that they do in the United States. But farmers are anecdotally saying that this has been a big problem for a long time.
Now, you spoke to some farmers for this piece. Do you have any stories about kind of their trials and tribulations farming, not maybe this year, but in the past as well?
Well, I think it's important to say that these people, by and large, are very, very proud. They're very old school type of folks. And there are very strong communities of faith within the agricultural communities of the Rainy River District and all the way through northwestern Ontario. There are all kinds of community supports that have been designed this way. But when I talk to people, even 80-year-old Tom Morrish will tell me that he has seen full-on mental breaks in people from as early as when he was 10 years old. The awareness of that stigma is clear. What is beginning to happen, what is really important that is changing, is that people are beginning to say the stigma is unacceptable, we are here for our communities. And the way they're doing that is through first aid, mental health first aid training. And that not only breaks down the stigma, and it also prepares farmers to help each other in difficult times.
I'm curious, in the past, how did farmers support one another during the difficult growing seasons, if at all?
Well, for sure. I talked a moment ago about how there are very strong communities of faith, largely Christianity, within those rural communities. The family is a very strong institution, extended family. There was one person I talked to over Sawatsky over at Emo Feeds, who talked about how if you step on somebody's toe tomorrow, today, you might need them tomorrow, and they won't be able to not help you just because you stepped on their toe and they don't want to, but also because their foot is hurting.
Well, I want to talk about some more supports that seem to be coming. Last spring, a federal parliamentary report was released by the Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agro-Food addressing this issue. A big milestone there, right?
I think so, and everyone in the industry I talk to says so. You can walk up to any farmer and say, I'm writing about farming mental health, and they'll say, oh, that's the big thing right now. And not sarcastically so, like enthusiastically so. That report and the recommendations of that committee included better internet connectivity and attachment to the world, everything from that to better health programs in this sector and unique ways of looking at the farming experience as it relates to mental health. If you're up to your knees in manure, it might not be a moment for you to take a break and go do yoga. Like it's very different in terms of what's available, and the resources have to reflect that. So I think what's really going to be exciting, JN, in 2020 is when we see the funding beginning to flow from those recommendations and rising to meet these grassroots movements. And what's going to happen in the middle will braid these together into an attempt to destigmatize this across Canada. Ontario is not leading, but we're catching up now, and Rainy River is first.
John, I know you'll be keeping a close eye on it. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, bringing the very important stories from Northwestern Ontario. That's John Thompson, our Ontario Hub journalist from Northwestern Ontario.
Thanks, Jan.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.